Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 14 of the 25 Vuelta a España. Today's stage looks like another mountain summit where we're going to see the GC guys do some battling because we look at the profile, we see it at 136 kilometers. I'll call it about 80, 85 miles in length. When you look at it though, you see the three category climbs. Okay, most important, they start coming at about 72, 43, and then 17 kilometers ago. Now these climbs, especially the last two, are over 8%. Monster of a climb. The middle climb is exceptionally difficult. We're talking about 8.5, 8.8%, and then it's going to summit on today's stage. So it could be one for the breakaway if Visma Bike want to let it go and know their teams want to start chasing, of course. We could see the breakaway go the distance, or we could see a GC battle, of course, because UAE team Emirates Almeida just got done winning on the Angliru on yesterday, stage 13. So today could be a magical stage. When the cameras come on, we're going to get the whole course of today's stage because, like I said, it's a shorter stage at about 85 miles. So when we get done through the neutral section where there's a small protest there that blocked up and held up the riders for a little bit, we go into kilometer 0. There starts being attacks all over the place going up the road. AG2R is part of this 10, 15-man group. It's going to come into a 25-rider group. My man Victor Campenaerts is in this group. 2 UAE Team Emirates riders are in the group. Soler, Mikkel Bjerg, and four AG2R riders are also in this group. Now there's about 6 teams, 6 other teams that have multiple numbers in this group of 25 too. So if everyone's motivated and want to make this group work, and we look back at the Peloton, we see Visma Bike with Wilco Kelderman and Dylan Van Barley on the front. They're letting this gap start to extend out, and then we go up about 10, 15 kilometers as we stall the group of 25 getting some time on the Peloton. Well, Victor Campenaerts has a problem. He pulls over to the side of the road. He's got Shimano guys there, so he's going to take a bike from Shimano. It's going to be the wrong size, and then the Shimano car is going to blow right by him. My man's all upset. He's getting angry at everybody. Eventually, Shimano comes back. We see the Shimano motorcycle arguing with him. We see the race officials motorcycle arguing with him. And eventually, Victor Campenaerts pulls over because his own car, Visma Bike, gives him back his bike, and he starts chasing, but he's a minute plus down on the guys up the road. We're talking 25 riders up there. Now, the problem was when he had the mechanical, they didn't let the cars into the gap behind the front group of 25, even though the gap was getting up to around 3 minutes at that moment. They didn't have the cars back there, and the biggest problem for my man Camp was going slightly downhill, which means those guys at the front were rotating through magically as AG2R were interested in making this break stay off the road. So Camp's got a big gap to make up. Luckily for Camp, when we start looking back there, he's got some company coming. We see that it's the picnic rider, that's Hess Limrace there, and the Soudal Quick-Step rider, that's Maury Van Savenhoff. As Victor Campenaerts is on his Visma Bike, road bike now, he latches onto these guys, and they come into the left turn to go across the bridge. Maury Van Savenhoff's going to sit up, but Hess Limrace and Victor Campenaerts are going to work together. They're going to bring these guys back. But Camp's been off the back for about 30 kilometers because they bring these guys back just over 75 kilometers to go into stage. Now that means the first climb is coming up pretty soon, and the gap's going out to about 4 minutes. So Visma Bike, 2 riders on the front, and we see Alpecin Deceuninck riding second wheel. Alpecin Deceuninck doesn't have anyone in general classification, so you know it's pretty calm back there. Visma Bike don't care if the stage wing goes up the road in the group of 25 that Camp and Hess Limrace just got back into. Now we go up with about 72 kilometers to go. They hit the first of the category climb. It's going pretty steady. Mikkel Bjerg's doing some work on the front because he's got Soler in this group and possibly satellite riders for UAE Team Emirates Almeida further down the road. Because remember, it's a 17-kilometer summit finish climb. And the last 7, we're talking, they're at like 9, 10%. So it's a super stick of a climb at the finish, but it's a long climb at 17 kilometers long and at about 8% average. So we go up and we're into the first category climb. AG2R is riding the front. Now, you could ride the front right now, go up over this climb. There's no problem with that. But after you get over the top of this climb, you got to start some attacking and blowing this race up. Because if you're one of the 4 AG2R riders, you have multiple numbers in a group of 25-plus riders. So you want to try to start blowing it up. But AG2R is riding the front, going up this first climb. I'm okay with this. This is no problem. But over the top, it's got to start to change. You cannot ride all the way into the finish with one Marc Soler that's a climber. And remember, you got a couple Trek riders in there with Verona and Baggiola. They don't climb so bad either. We saw Baggiola at the front of the Peloton multiple times at the beginning of the week here at the Vuelta a España. So possibly he's got some legs too. John Marco is in there from Pseudo Quickstep. He's a little bit of a climber. And Cepeda's in there from Movistar too. So you got some climbers. You'd certainly, if you're AG2R, you want to start blowing it up over the top. We see AG2R setting the tempo going up over to the top of the KOM here. And then we see the back of the break of 25 riders. That's James Shaw back there talking to his car. Well, they're going over top of the KOM. We don't even know who got KOM points. We'll have to find out later that it was Marc Soler that grabbed some KOM points, but they didn't even show it on camera. But we know James Shaw's in a predicament right now because when they drop over the backside, it's super steep going down the descent. And the group up front, the 25-plus riders, split in half. They come out at the bottom. We got one rider from AG2R up there. That's Johan Samitier up there, and he's got some company because he's got Nico Dins with him from Bora Hansgrohe. Nico Dins has a teammate in the group here too called Tim van Dijk. So these two are going up the road. We see the group split up behind. Soler's in the first main group of about 10 riders. Bjerg's in the second group back there. That means when we look up at that first group, you got to remember, AG2R's in this group, so they might not help Soler. And we see Bora Hansgrohe, Tim van Dijk in this group, so he might not help Soler either. So if these two riders start throwing down, there could be a little bit of a dilemma right now for UAE team members that's split up and apart, not working well with each other at this moment. But instead, what we see is the two riders up front look back, they sit up, everything comes back together with about, we'll call it 65 kilometers to go, thereabouts. Once it's all back together, these guys start rotating together. I mean, honestly, they start rotating together. We'll see Bjerg up there first, and then he throws his little hand out there like he wants some help and everyone to rotate, and everyone does. And when that's happening, Soler slips off to the right side for a little nature break, and then he just hangs out at the back of this group of 25 with my man Victor Campenaerts. I mean, Soler hasn't even really touched the front much throughout this whole stage. Looked like it was a pretty easy selection. It wasn't that easy because it's lumpy and bumpy throughout the start, but as easy as you could expect for Soler to make this front group. And now he's just sitting on the back, and AG2R's driving it on the front. They got some guys rotating through, getting some help there, but Soler's really getting a free ride at this moment because Bjerg's up front, so everyone's forgetting about Marc Soler, the climber. Okay, we start coming into the next climb with about 43 kilometers to go. When this climb starts, this is when things start getting nasty in the Peloton too. But up front, first we start seeing it kind of blowing up into two groups. Hess Limrace throws an attack. Hess, this isn't the time to throw an attack. You don't throw in attacks on 8% plus percentage climbs. You do not want to throw in attacks when you got Marc Soler in the group, because he's a climber. You want to attack on the flats, you want to attack on the descent, you want to attack in the corners, but you don't want to attack on steep climbs. Well, he's throwing in some attacks, and it's AG2R bringing the group back. Soler is still sitting on this front group. Yes, he's got to do some work because it's 8%. It's a stick of a climb, there's no doubt about it. But he's getting a free ride as AG2R drilling in at the front. They got the group split down to about 12, 15 guys, and a bunch of guys have dropped off the back now. Now we go back down and look at the Peloton. Two riders brought it in from Visma bikes, Dylan Van Baarle and Wilco Kelderman. When Ivo Oliveira starts getting on the front, that tells everybody right now, when the time gap was getting up to about 5 and 6 minute times up to the group of 25, that, well, we might have a bike race for the stage too, but we're certainly got a battle for the general classification going on because Ivo's throwing everything into it. We see Mads Pedersen, one of the sprinters, get dropped out the back first. Now, Ivo's going to do a bunch of kilometers. I'll call it about 3 kilometers up there. Then he's going to pass off to Domen Novak. Domen Novak starts putting power on the pedals when we go back and we start seeing casualties all over as the Peloton's exploding back there. Egan Bernal is the first casualty that's exploding. That's higher up on the general classification, but he blew up yesterday on the Angliru, so that's not a big explosion just yet, but Domen Novak is blowing this race up. He's going to do a solid KK and a half on the front. Then he's going to turn it over to Ayuso. Is Ayuso going to race for his team leader right now? Almeida, who's sitting second on the general classification and just got done winning yesterday's stage going up to Angliru. But Ayuso's won 2 stages here. In fact, UAE team members have won 6 stages total out of 12. This is stage 14, but they didn't have one stage finish on stage 11, so they're batting 500% right now. So Ayuso's on the front. He's looking a little bit curious as he's looking left, looking right over his shoulders, getting on the radio. Doesn't look like he's certainly going to sell out 100%, but then he decides to do it. So as he starts throwing down, we see Ciccone blowing up off the back. This is 8th on the general classification, so this is the first real casualty here at the Vuelta a España on stage 14 as Ciccone from Lidl Trek's getting dropped off the back. He's got his teammate up there trying to help him, but there is no helping because Ciccone's going to lose a ton of time. Egan Bernal dropped off early. He's going to lose a ton of time too, so forget about those guys. We look at Ayuso. He's drilling it on the front. He's getting this selection down, I'll call it to about 30, 25 riders at this moment with the speed there of Ayuso. We go up and look at the front now of the group that was getting split down to about 12, 15 riders. AG2R are still riding the front at this moment. They're bringing it back, attacks after attacks. As we look up front, it was Gian Marco up there from Soudal Quickstep that threw in some attacks. And then when it was Lidl Treks Baggioli that threw in some attacks. But AG2R brought all these back while Solaire's sitting on the back. Okay, the group up there that's getting down to about a dozen riders or so, maybe we'll call it 11. Once they come up to the top, it's James Shaw from EF Education that throws an attack. Okay, you can throw an attack, but you want to hope that one of the AG2R riders come with you for sure, because there's still 2 and 3 left in that back group back there. And Bruno Armai's been driving it on the front, going up this climb the whole time, and there's a fresh Solaire sitting back there. So I don't know if I like this move, because we've already seen that AG2R is willing to ride the front all day long, all night, all day, morning, night, whatever you want to call it. They're riding the whole time. We go back down and look at the Peloton as they're coming over the top of this climb at about 3:20, 3.5 minutes behind the front group up there being led by AG2R. That's chasing James Shaw up there going solo. And as the Peloton's coming down, this is Ayuso that's still on the front of the group. Now Ayuso's going to drill it all the way into about 20 kilometers to go. Once he pulls it into 20 kilometers to go, Nico Denz is here. Nico Denz was one of the original 25 back there that started the day in the breakaway. Now he's come back. Ayuso's on the front, but Ayuso's starting to blow right now, so Nico Denz is going to take over. Once he takes over, we see him wrap up my man Victor Campenaerts, and then Mikkel Bjerg's wrapped up, and then James Shaw's wrapped up from EF Education. Now we're coming into about 19, 18 kilometers to go. Once we look at the group up front, they're coming across this bridge. And once you see them come across this bridge at about 18 kilometers to go, we see that Solaire's throwing in attack. Just behind him is Johan from AG2R, Johan Samitier. As those two are going up the road, we look at the group. It's all single file coming across this bridge, and then they're going to go into the black hole there called the tunnel. So we don't know exactly what's happening. But we look further back, and we start looking at the Peloton. Well, now we see a little bit of issues because Großschartner's back there with his hand raised up. He's trying to get some bottles. Now remember, there's 4 UAE Team Emirates riders left because Ayuso's already blown. So you got Bjerg, you got Almeida, you got Großschartner at the back of the Peloton right now. And then we see the KOM jersey. That's Jay Vine. Jay Vine's going to have some issues as we see him dropping off on the right side of the Peloton. Remember, Großschartner's back there getting some bottles, so that's no big deal. He'll come back up to the front. That leaves 3 UAE Team Emirates. But then when we go at the back of the group, oh man, we see that the KOM jersey right there, Jay Vine, is out there chasing. Now, he must have had a bike change, and then we see his team car come back up. Once his team car, UAE team members come back there, we see the arm waving through like this out the window like that. He's got the bottle in his arm because he wants Jay Vine to come through because you know you can't sit on the bumper for too long. So Jay Vine comes over to the left side of the car. He's going to get a sling, and he's going to find his way back onto the back end of the GC favorites. This group's about 25 riders strong. Nico Denz is at the front. Nico Denz is getting ready to blow. As Nico Denz is getting ready to blow, we're going to go up and we're going to see Kevin Vermark, Jean-Marco up there in Verona from Lidl Trek trying to close the gap up to the 2 riders in front, Solaire and Johan. Now, as those two are holding off the 3 in the back, they can't quite close. So all of a sudden, we see a gap to Solaire and Johan from AG2R. They're going up the road. Now, we know that's happening. We go back and look as Bjerg is driving it on the front. With Bjerg driving on the front, Almeida's sitting third right now, and he's licking his lips. He's like, I got teammates finally. I got Bjerg on the front. I still have teammates left in the race. Jay Vine is left in the race. He knows he's got him. He's got Großschartner, and Bjerg's throwing everything into it. Oh, man, Bjerg's going to get some help. Tim Van Dijk is in the picture. This is Bora Hansgrohe, Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. He was one of the second Red Bull riders in the front group after Nico Denz came back. Now they got Tim Van Dijk on the front. So Bjerg's getting a little bit more rest as Tim Van Dijk is starting to drill it. Tim Van Dijk's going to take it all the way into about 15 kilometers ago. He's going to blow, and now Bjerg finds himself back on the front. Up front, again, Solaire was attacking him about 17 kilometers ago. Samitier was getting on the race radar going, I can't do it. Oh, we need a second plan. Well, right now, AG2R have no chance of winning today's stage because we know the gap up to Solaire is getting large. The only hope really left is if some fresh legs come up here or the Peloton of GC favorites start attacking, but they're about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So we see Bjerg going back there, and we see the expression on his face. Guys, he is screaming, yelling. He's throwing everything he possibly can into the pedals until finally he blows. Now, once he does, it's time for Jay Vine in a polka dot jersey to go to work. Jay Vine's got a selection. It's getting thinner and thinner. Everything's getting full gas right back here and full tension on the GC favorites as Jay Vine's drilling. Jay Vine's going to take it all the way into about 5.56 kilometers to go. He's going to blow. Now it's time for Grossschartner to go to work. Once Grossschartner gets on the front, we start looking at the GC favorites. Guys, there's only 9 guys out of the top 10 left in this front group because Chiccone's already dropped. Everything's single file at this moment. And we see Jorgensen is starting to drift. We saw that yesterday on the Angliru stage too with about 5 kilometers to go. Now Jorgensen's drifting again. And up front, Grossschartner's throwing down. So we go further back and we see the first real casualty of GC favorites as Jorgensen blows off the back. But Jonas Vingegaard still got some teammates because still got Ben Toulet, Sepp Kuss in this group. But Ben Toulet's going to start having his own problems eventually too. So right now, think of it as Sepp Kuss and Vingegaard up there. So with those guys sitting just behind the train up there of Almeida and Grossschartner drilling full gas on the front, things are getting really interesting as the group's coming down to about a dozen, 13 riders. Now up front, Soler still drilling it, but just behind him at about 4.5 kilometers to go, Kevin Vermark, the American rider from Picnic in L, and Finley, right there, Finley Pickering from Bahrain Victorious, they've just caught up to the rider of Johan Saint-Mihiel there. So we got 3 riders at about a minute and 20 seconds back from Soler. So we could have some fresh legs up here. We won't have to go too much further before we know for sure that Finley's throwing in attack and we see just Kevin Vermark getting dropped because Johan Saint-Mihiel has already gotten dropped. We go back and look at the GC favorites. Now, they've caught in some of the casualty riders. Riccatello had Jan Hertz coming out of that front group. When Jan Hertz came back, Jan Hertz was staying a little bit off to the right side there because the wind is getting strong up here as we're getting further and further up to the summit of this climb. Now, Jan Hertz will only be able to give just for a few hundred meters, maybe 5K at the most, before he blows. And then we're still looking at the 9 GC favorites up here with Grossschartner still drilling into about 2.7, 2.8 kilometers to go when we see the next big attack here, the Peloton. It's Pellizzari. Pellizzari's Bora, Red Bull, Bora Hansgrohe. On his wheels, Jai Hindley. As Pellizzari's in the white race leaders jersey for youth, we start seeing Riccatello coming up the outside. Riccatello's coming up the outside, and then we see Grossschartner start to blow. That could open up the third wheel there to get on the wheel of Jai Hindley, and Riccatello wants it because the white jersey he's battling with Pellizzari that's on the front right now drilling it. But Almeida's not going to give up the third position, so he pulls up on the Jai Hindley's wheel, and we see Jonas Vingegaard back there and forth. He doesn't want to give up that spot either, so Riccatello just wasted some energy. We see him, he has to come to the back of the group again, and this is when we start seeing the group get even smaller, because now as we're coming up to the technical sections with about 1.7 kilometers to go, it's Torsten Trey in. That's starting to get dropped from Bahrain Victorious. He's not quite dropped, but he's struggling big time at the back at this 9 rider of the top 10 of the general classification with Pellizzari drilling it. Now we go into 1.1 kilometer to go. We see Finlay up there, Bahrain Victorious. He's suffering big time, but he's just about ready to come under 1K to go. But up front, coming into 1K to go, that's Marc Soler. Soler is going to drill it into 1K to go. He's throwing in through the last of the chicane and the bends here. Then he knows he's got a gap and he knows he's going to win today's stage, but we got to go further back down because we're coming into about 900 meters. And this is when we see Finlay get wrapped up. So this is second place on today's stage. So there's only one place up the road, Soler, which means it opens up some time bonuses on today's stage. Pellizzari still throwing down. Now the cameras go back up front to see Soler as he's rounding through the last of the chicanes. He's going to sit up. He's going to kiss his wrist there with the bracelet. Then he's going to celebrate as he crosses the line with one finger wagging in the air because UAE team members just won 7 stages. 7 stages out of 14. They're still batting 500 here, and it's even higher because stage 11 didn't count. So they got more than 50% of the stage wins here for UAE team members. But what's happening as we go further down the hill? Well, Pellizzari's still drilling it on the front until we see the attack with about 600 meters to go. Jai Hindley's throwing in the attack as he swings out and throws in his acceleration. Right away, Almeida's locked on his wheel. Jonas Vingegaard's locked on his wheel. Tom Pidcock's struggling big time, but Pellizzari tries to slip into the 4th position there as he closes the gap for Tom Pidcock, giving him a little bit more draft as up front, Jai Hindley's throwing in acceleration. Then Pellizzari starts to blow, pulls out of the picture. We look at the back view here of the chasers. Tom Pidcock's starting to blow. He can't quite get up to the back wheel of Jonas Vingegaard in 3rd position. He blows and starts to open up the gap. As he opens up the gap, We go up front and we look now at Jai Hindley still throwing in acceleration. Almeida's looking fine on his wheel. Jonas Vingegaard's looking fantastic. They'll go into about 175 meters to go in this position. And then Almeida's looking back over his shoulder. Once he looks over his shoulder, he throws in his acceleration to try to get second on today's stage and possibly gain some more time on the race leader's red jersey, Jonas Vingegaard. But Jonas is all over it, locked onto the back wheel there of Almeida, solidly locked on. Then we see Jai Hindley start to open up a gap as Almeida's throwing down acceleration. Jonas Vingegaard throws in his acceleration with about 25 meters to go on today's stage. It was a vicious final on the stage. Jonas Vingegaard throws in the acceleration. Almeida lets off the gas just at the line. He knows he's going to lose the second place time bonuses to Jonas Vingegaard from Visma, bike that outsprints Almeida. He comes across the line though. Almeida for third on the stage. Jonas Vingegaard second. We look further back. Felix Gall's coming through about 10 seconds back for fifth on the stage. We look behind Felix Gall. We see it's Riccatello, Pellizzari, and we see Tom Pidcock's in this group, so he doesn't lose too much time. Now we got a great battle still to go for the following stages, so make sure you guys like and subscribe. And as far as UAE team members are concerned, if you're going to win a stage, if you're going to send riders up the road and not race for second on the general classification trying to steal the race leader's red jersey, Almeida, then this was the way to do it. Because Soler got into the move, Bjerg got into the move without a ton of energy. They basically sat on the back, at least Soler, not Bjerg. He did some work. He did a lot of work, really. But Soler sat on most of the time, and he really didn't throw in a big acceleration until 18 kilometers to go. And then 15 kilometers to go when he dropped Johan and went to the summit solo to win today's stage. So if you're going to win, this is the way I like you to win. But behind, we know for sure that the whole team, what was left of it, raced 100% for Almeida. So congratulations to the Portuguese rider, Almeida, to get full support of your teammates, and to Soler that went up and won the stage. If you're going to win, this is the way to do it. There was no knuckleheadism in today's stage victory for Soler to get the 7th victory here at this Vuelta a España. Remember, that's 7 victories for 4 different riders right now. Almeida's got 1, Soler's got 1, Ayuso's got 2, and Jay Vine's got 2, so that's a lot of victories, but they don't have the race leader's red jersey because that stayed on Jonas Vingegaard's shoulders. So like and subscribe. I'll see you guys for the next adventure real soon.